There are plenty of videos about retiring in Turkey, now formerly known as Turkey. But how easy is it to uproot and move overseas to a country like Turkey? What are the real challenges that face expats wishing to live here? Let's take a look at the requirements necessary for a comfortable life in Turkey for someone retiring 10 years earlier than usual. In the UK, the retirement age is now 66 or 67. So how much money do you need to set aside if you want to maintain a reasonably good standard of living in Turkey? This video mainly focuses on people from the UK, but similar circumstances may apply to your own country. The average house price in the UK is now around £300,000. That's $366,000 or €357,000 as of 2025. If you have no mortgage left on your UK home, you're in a fortunate position and one step closer to realising your dream of moving abroad. If you are on track for a full UK state pension, it is possible to live in Turkey comfortably, but you will need to own your own home. If you don't have a full UK state pension, you can catch up on the missing years by paying Class 2 or Class 3 voluntary contributions. Turkey is no longer as cheap as it once was, not by any stretch of the imagination. Hyperinflation and wage increases have driven up the cost of supermarket shopping, and the average weekly shop is now comparable to the UK. Meat and dairy products are particularly expensive, while fruit and vegetables tend to be cheaper. It's also important to note that the cost of living in Istanbul, or one of the large cities, is considerably higher than in the countryside or a small town. For a couple living modestly in Turkey, your UK pension will be more than enough for a good lifestyle. A reasonable two-bedroom apartment in a Turkish town or city will set you back around £75,000. You can easily spend £100,000 for something in a nice area of town. Anything with a sea view by the beach will cost you more. So let's say you've sold your home in the UK and bought a place in Turkey for £100,000. Your new modern apartment will need to be furnished and decorated. The costs for good quality furniture and white goods are on a par with those in Europe. Personally, and from experience, I would set aside at least £10,000 for that. You've now spent £110,000. Cars are very expensive in Turkey, and for a small basic new car, you should be prepared to spend around £25,000. You're now £135,000 out of pocket. The next step is to obtain a residence permit, or ikamet as it's known here. This is becoming more of a challenge to obtain now, but owning property makes it much easier. From 2025, applicants are required to show bank certification confirming that you have an income of at least 1.5 times the net monthly minimum wage in Turkey. This income must cover the duration of your stay and will need to be sufficient each time you apply. This amount is also required per person and currently equates to £769, that's $939 or €912 at the time of writing. You will also need to show that you have money in deposits. This amount is currently set at £8,172, $10,000 or €9,718. I would suggest keeping a £50,000 reserve in your bank in Turkey for emergencies and as proof of capital for your residence permit applications. Recently, Turkey has experienced an uncontrolled influx of migrants, including large numbers of Russians, Azerbaijanis, Turkmens, Iranians and others. This has made certain towns and cities too expensive for locals. Additionally, Turkey already hosts 3.9 million migrants and refugees, 90% of whom are Syrian. In light of recent events, some may of course now return to Syria. Restrictive measures have been put in place and several areas have stopped providing residence permits. It is now very hard to obtain a residence permit in Istanbul, and even tourist resorts such as Antalya have become increasingly difficult. The new rules still allow foreigners to relocate to Turkey, but initially only a short-term residence permit will be issued for a maximum of 1 year. After that, it can be extended with the possibility of long-term residency in the future. Sounds complicated? Not really. There are many agents who can help you prepare the right documentation. Overall, it will cost you around £200, that's $244 or €238 in fees. Once you've chosen where you want to live in Turkey, your first point of contact should be to find a local lawyer or agency that specialises in this area. They will also be able to advise you on how easy or difficult it is to obtain residency in the area that you're looking at. Another route to settling in Turkey is through investment, which requires $400,000, which is around £328,000 in property to apply for citizenship. I'm not covering this here, but there's a wealth of information available on how to pursue Turkish citizenship through investment. You will also need to arrange health insurance. This will cost at least £50 per month per person, but it's advisable to shop around for the best coverage. The cheapest is not always the best. At this stage then, you've committed to £135,000 plus £50,000 in the bank in Turkey. What comes next is a matter of lifestyle. How much money do you need to live comfortably here? A single person can live well on a UK state pension, provided they own their own home. A couple can live exceptionally well, since they will have a pension of their own each. Alcohol is expensive here, and depending on where you live, eating out is no longer as cheap as it used to be. It is essential to shop around for the best bargains. Let's return to the house you sold in the UK for £300,000. If you want to retire 10 years earlier, the monthly drawdown from your savings, including the £50,000 reserve in the Turkish bank, will give you an annual income of £16,500 before your retirement income kicks in. Common sense dictates that if you can manage on £12,000 per annum, you'll still have some savings left. We own our own home and don't skimp or want for anything. Utility bills are much cheaper here than in Europe or the UK. We have 2 vehicles and a motorbike. We eat out occasionally and go on holiday twice a year. We manage all of that on under £12,000 per annum. To put this into total perspective, the average Turkish wage in 2025 is under £5,000 a year. There are numerous videos of people claiming to live on under £700 a month and others stating that you will need at least £1,500 a month. It really depends on where you live and how you choose to live. Absolutely, it is possible to live on £12,000 per annum. That's $14,649 or €14,302. If you own your own property, it's much easier, but if a large chunk of your income is going out in rent, then obviously you need to take that into account. Whilst the number of British citizens living in Turkey is declining and new registrations are now very low, there is still a large number of Germans present. Life here is stress-free and very comfortable. The weather and the easygoing attitude of the majority of Turks will make the experience even more enjoyable. However, being able to speak Turkish will make your experience far more enriching and fulfilling. If you're considering Turkey as a place to retire or live, Take a moment to stop and think. Don't just decide to pack up and leave your country hoping that life will be better on the other side of the fence. Spend a few months here, travel around and get a feel for the place. Discover which town or city suits you best. One word of caution: if you sell your home and move to Turkey, your options for returning to the UK, or anywhere else for that matter, might be limited and difficult since you've sold your home there. You must make sure it's the right choice for you. I have not mentioned taxation, but the UK and the USA, as far as I know, have a double taxation agreement with Turkey. Effectively, this means that if you live on a permanent basis in Turkey, your pension is not liable to taxation in the UK. And since Turkey does not tax pensions, your pension income is tax-free. I am not a tax advisor, and neither do I claim to know about Turkish law. The details provided are offered as a guideline, and the information provided may of course change. Always seek professional advice. I hope this video has provided some useful insights into what you would need to do for an early retirement in Turkey.